listing presentations. Right. And, the person that posted this said that they were considering, should they update their presentation because I guess they're using a dated one. And, we kind of vary here on how a listing presentation goes. So, which one's better, a formal or informal presentation?
So this is going to be one of the first times in only real estate podcast history where we starkly disagree, I think, right? Because I know you don't really have one at all.
I think we all do this completely differently.
Yeah. You guys are just so charming. You don't need a listing presentation. I think, and my best advice in reality, just actionable advice is whatever, and this is nothing against brokers or anything like that, don't use what your broker provides. Reason being, especially if you work for a very, very big, worldwide type company, that's very commodity, right? Like it's very much a commodity. The stuff that your broker provides, you get into business to have a unique value proposition, right? We talk about that's part of the first thing you come up with, your unique value proposition, right? And so if your unique value proposition is just the exact same thing that everybody else in your brokerage has, it's not very unique. And so that might be a good starting point. I wouldn't say just don't use it at all. Use it for influence. And that's part of building a real estate business, right? It's not all just experience and number of transactions that are going to get you deals. It's your unique value proposition. What do you bring to the table that either other people don't do at a high level or don't do at all or whatever, and you need to craft your presentation around that. My personal belief is that your listing presentation, my listing presentation, our listing presentation that we use for our team, I think is the most valuable piece of intellectual property that we have, right? Because I think that what you do to get at bats is pretty static, right? You set up marketing funnels, you set up pipelines, you prospect your butt off, you do all those things to get in the door. What happens on the other side of that door is very unique to you. And so I think that that's probably one of the most valuable things that we have is our marketing plan that really, it's very straightforward. It's about 28 to 30 pages long, and it just step by step walks the seller through what it is that we do marketing wise, what we're going to do to sell their home, the whole process, all that type of stuff. We really, really like that. And I will go ahead, go a step further. What I think is unique and really good about ours is that it takes no explanation whatsoever. Now, we use it as a guide, and I'm sure Matt will speak to this. We use it as a guide for the actual appointment, for the conversation that we're going to have with the seller. What I think is really differentiates ours and what is really, really important about ours is that we don't actually need to walk you through it for you to get it. It's not just a bunch of graphics. It's not just a bunch of charts or bullet points. It is something that I can pick up and read word for word, and I will know everything about what we do to get homes sold. So we've taken a lot of time to craft ours, and I think it really pays off.
Yeah, and I would say ours really serves two purposes, and I think especially for teams, that's probably what it needs to do. A new agent could walk into an appointment, and if they've taken the time to read through it previously, they're going to do okay. They're going to have some bullet points to go through. Plus, like you said, they can just stop down and almost read it word for word, as long as they don't sound like a robot. For me, what it's done is it's up my ability and my credibility in the appointment. For years, I did listing appointments without one. Various levels of success. I would not say a ton of success doing it that way. Now that I have a good listing presentation, it gives me the framework, to keep me on track so I don't get too scattered. It also allows me to give something to go back to when they ask questions. I can thumb back to a point that we brought up earlier, maybe show them a stat or point out something that helps solidify the opinion. Really what it does is it allows me to not have an unanswerable question in the appointment, and it lends credibility to my intelligence and my ability to get their home sold. I think that's what it does more than anything. Yep. I would say 95% of the agents I know don't go in the appointment with one, or if they do, they're too scared to break that son of a bitch out. Right. Because they're afraid they're going to get called out on some stuff that's in there, so they'd rather just not show you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's a lot of fluff. So I'm on the standpoint of we don't do a listing presentation, right? So a true formal one. Mm-hmm. And trust me, I've had one. I have one that has old stats in there from, I think, 2013. Old photos, it's like my glamour shot photos from back in the day.
Your pre-beard photos?
Yeah, back before you wore the Good Home Team shirts everywhere.
That's right.
You used to wear suits.
Yeah. And with that, I noticed that when I went to a formal listing presentation, right, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, my conversion rate went up. So I'm very much, I have a little bit of, I'm more like a Brian Force type in terms of I'm very logical way of thinking and less emotional, but I have a way to tap into my emotional way of thought the way Matt Kelderman does. And with that is when I got away from our presentation, right? Because I notice that when you do a presentation, people start zoning out. If they're ADD or if they got a lot of things going on that day, they're like, oh yeah, it sounds great. I'm going through I'm going through everything here. So how does that sound? Sounds good. All right, you ready to sign? Well, no, we're going to think about it. Right. And so the way that I've designed mine, and it's worked for brand new agents as long as they come and follow and shadow, and that's the biggest thing, is I take people through a journey. And, the first thing I do when I go to the house, I have them take me on the tour. I want to see and hear how they kind of explain their house. And I get an idea kind of their personality style. If they take me through a long tour and explain everything, all right, they're very attached to this house, right? The high Ds, here's a bedroom, yep, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's go ahead and get this on. And from there, what we do is my kryptonite is a standing presentation or sitting at the couch. I hate that shit, right?
The couch doesn't work for tall guys because your knees are always up too high and you just look ridiculous.
Then my legs go to sleep and I'm changing around too much. And so I've gotten, now I make sure to always say, all right, is it okay if we sit here? Which is usually at the table. And then I go through, before I get started, I reanalyze everything they told me on the phone, right? And you should, before you got out there, ask qualification questions, which we can teach you on how to do, to set you up for better success when you're already going out there. You already should know the probability of them signing with you before you even get out there. And, at the very beginning, I say, tell me again, where are you going? You're wanting to, get out of this house, move to somewhere. And tell me, what are you looking for in the agent you're going to hire today? Right? They just gave me everything I needed to know. And sometimes when they have their walls up is when I know that they're just playing hard to get. Right? So then I'll rephrase the question in a different manner to get the answer I'm looking for, so I can best direct how my next step's going to be. Right? We do have a TGHT folder that has the CMA in it, that has the market trends in it. And then the biggest thing is we just have our team resume that just talks about how many homes that we've sold in the last 12 months, the list to sales price ratio, and the average days on market. Right? And so we say, look, we're going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly of what we do. Right? There's going to be some things that other people may sound as sexy, and it's not going to do anything. Right, so I want to find out what is the most important thing to that homeowner at that time. And then I'm gonna focus on that part.
I think that goes back to whether you use a formal listing presentation or not. What all of us are getting at is you have to do what makes you comfortable and what makes you your best self, right? I use a formal listing presentation in the exact same way that you use an informal one, right? I don't just read off of it. I like just having something that I can leave behind. But we were on a call with Adam Hergenrother yesterday. He said something really poignant that stuck with me. And that was basically, you earn the right to become yourself, right? And what that means is like, Nick used to be like this as well, and I was like this for a long time. Like, I was super, super, super buttoned up. Like, you would not see me on an appointment without a 3-piece suit on, right? I just thought that that's how I needed to look all the time. And a lot of it was because I was still getting comfortable in my own shoes, just as far as just interacting with prospects and being comfortable and having that confidence and all that type of stuff. Nowadays, I feel like I have earned the right, and I still dress nice. I'll wear a nice polo and slacks and all that type of stuff. But I actually feel like there are times when wearing a super nice suit to an appointment actually works against me because it makes me look like a salesman, you know, in a lot of ways. And so that's just sort of a visual manifestation of being really, really comfortable in your own skin. And a lot of that is just getting the reps in. So whether you use a listing presentation or not, whether you choose to use a formal one or not, it's really more about how good is your ability to present. And that's what's huge. And that just comes over time. So the biggest thing is you've got to earn your right to be your best self in the appointment, whatever that means.
And if you can't, if you're not at a place in your real estate or your I don't know, presentation career where you can't feel the tone of the appointment change. Nick was talking about those standoffish people. I actually prefer those ones more than anything else because I feel like those are the people I can read the best. I read those people really, really well as they turn the corner into realizing, because you guys have seen how I go on appointments. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are a lot of people who watch this show and that are in our group that would probably look at that and be like, that's not how you go on an appointment. I will go in polo shorts and boat shoes. And I mean, and it works. I've never had any, I will tell you, I've not lost enough business that I've shown up in to be convinced that people are not using me because of that. Right.